On July 29, 1973, hard rock heroes Led Zepplin were robbed of $200,000 in tour receipts. The crime was never solved. 45 years later, shocking new evidence reveals the culprits and shows how a perfect storm of violence and drug use changed the course of rock history. July 1973. The city of New York is suffering through an epic heat wave. The unbearable humidity is only made worse by the struggling city's slide towards moral and actual bankruptcy.
You can't go down no one avenue without seeing nothing but garbage and rats.
Mountains of garbage line the streets, unleashing a plague of rats unprecedented in modern history. At the same time, the outer boroughs of Brooklyn and Queens were filled with unemployed and disaffected youth. Fueled by a non-stop orgy of endless drug and sex parties, these once peaceful hippies soon transformed into rioting mobs of LSD-crazed street gangs.
They started throwing firecrackers at me. Not one or two firecrackers, but like loads of firecrackers. 20 to 40 to 60 to 100, 300, 400, 500 firecrackers at me. And I started dancing. I like to dance, man. It's the best 4th of July I ever had in my life, man. I was going, man. I was having fun, and all of a sudden,
But for some, the anarchy in the streets presented a unique opportunity. Legendary mafia boss Seymour Stein, head of the infamous Ramone crime family, put his crew on notice. Be ready to use the civil unrest as cover for something big. In response, New York City Mayor Lindsay Wagner deputizes thousands of yellow cab drivers to act as an army against the teen threat. Poorly armed drivers are no match for the highly organized youth attack squads.
Wow!
The island of Manhattan soon becomes a desperate redoubt for the city's rich elites, but they can't hold out for long. Deep inside a secret command center underneath the Statue of Liberty, Mayor Lindsay Wagner meets with some of the city's most eminent citizens. After an all-night brainstorm, they announce a peace offering, a series of free concerts by hard rock heroes Led Zepplin. The English group has only recently risen to the top of the American charts, playing a brand of blues fast-paced, high-volume rock and roll with sexually charged lyrics featuring mystical Celtic warriors and lace-draped ladies-in-waiting. On stage, the band's performances often last in excess of 12 hours, fueled by an ample supply of alcohol and narcotics. Offstage, the band blazes a trail of debauchery and degradation, consuming ever larger amounts of illegal narcotics and debasing thousands of teenage girls unlucky enough to wander into the band's orbit. While the free concert news is greeted with cheers by the city's rioting youth, it's mafiosi Seymour Stein who's cheering the loudest. That's because Stein knows that if the band and their management team are incapacitated by intoxicants, he might be able to pull off the heist of the century. It's an open secret in the rock and roll world that Led Zeppelin has an insatiable appetite for drugs and alcohol, and that their manager, Peter Grant, keeps a large supply of cash on hand to pay for the band's addictions. But Seymour Stein has other plans for that money. Stein reaches out to a crew known on the streets as the Ramone crime family. Johnny the Brain, Tommy the Beater, Joey the Nose, and Dee Dee the Counter had been groomed by Stein for years and molded into a vicious crew of criminal superheroes. Stein gives the crew careful instructions, while the entire city is at Madison Square Garden, losing themselves in Led Zeppelin's paganistic acid rock orgy of pre-troglodyte perversions. The four Ramones are to sneak into the band's hotel, overpower any guards, and make off with whatever cash they can find. Stein decides to strike on the last night of Zeppelin's week-long string of concerts. On the appointed night, the band takes the stage, enveloped in their customary fog of psychomimetic, mind-bending drugs. Meanwhile, at the band's luxurious hotel, preparations are being made for an after-show bacchanalia. With all the comings and goings, no one notices four young men slip into the room that holds the hotel's safe deposit boxes. The criminals manage to gather up Led Zeppelin's money and make a hasty exit. When the band returns to their hotel later that night, they're greeted by police tape and a shamefully apologetic hotel manager. Police admit their investigation is going nowhere, with few clues at the crime scene and even fewer suspects.
Jerry Lewis tomorrow on the 4:30 movie. This is Eyewitness News.
The money is reportedly the largest amount ever taken from a hotel safe deposit box in New York City. Police said they were questioning anyone who had access to the safe deposit box, but that's about all they would say.
Led Zeppelin's road manager says he put the money in the deposit box, and when he went back, it was all gone. And the police say there was money in the box, but they can't tell exactly how much.
The group's personal manager, Peter Grant, discussed the theft at a news conference today.
I have no idea. I just have no idea. I mean, could it be a duplicate key? I don't know. You come up with a winning idea.
After he met with newsmen, police took Grant himself and two of his employees to the precinct for questioning.
As the authorities scratch their heads, the four Ramone boys meet with mob boss Seymour Stein to divvy up the take. They're disappointed to discover their share is a mere $2,000, less than 1% of the entire haul. Back in Queens, the Ramone boys wonder if a life of crime is really worth it. Johnny the Brain suggests they try something different. If Led Zeppelin can live a life of endless riches and unbridled excess, why can't they? That afternoon, the four Ramone boys take their meager share of the loot and go shopping at Manny's Music in Manhattan. A few months later, the four criminals from Queens unveiled their most audacious scheme yet.
The bottom is! The bottom is! The bottom is! The bottom is!
The Ramone crime family has become the Ramones, a rock and roll band at the beginning of a 20-year career. Seymour Stein even steps in to give the band their first recording contract. And it's all because Led Zeppelin was a little careless with their money.
Mississippi, so put it in the field, the Mississippi,